traditional and contemporary art, all under one roof. It is currently under construction in Bhubaneswar, and we hope to open early next year. Meet the Artist is a permanent program of JD Center of Art, where invited artists, craftspersons, or scholars share their work, experiences, and insights through an illustrated or lecture. Since 2001, 267 such Meet the Artists have taken place on the second Saturday of every month. Currently, our sessions are being held online. Dadi Pudumjee is an acclaimed puppeteer, artist, and director. He started puppetry as a hobby in Pune and later studied at the National Institute of Design in Ahmedabad, where he developed his passion for puppetry under Meher Contractor at the Darpana Academi of Performing Arts. In 1976, he received a scholarship to study in Stockholm under Michael Meschke. I hope I said it rightly. There he had the opportunity to take part in a workshop on Bunraku puppetry by Japanese master puppeteer, Sennosuke Yoshida. He founded India's first contemporary puppet repertoire company, Sutradhar Puppet Theatre, in 1980, and later established the renowned Ishara Puppet Theatre in 1986, of which he is the managing trustee and the artistic director. He was the president of Union Internationale de la Marionnette, UNIMA, and now is the UNIMA President of Honor. He was awarded the Padma Shri and the National Award from the Sangeet Natak Akademi. He's conducted several workshops in puppetry worldwide, and I was also lucky 27 years ago to be part of it. So thank you, Dadi, and we welcome you here. Over to you. And if you, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Thank you, Siddharth. And for those who don't know Siddharth and Nandita and Varsha, Siddharth, their father, Siddharth's father is a very, very well-known, acclaimed artist in India, Jatin Das, who's right now in a boat trying to cross some roads because it's pouring in Delhi, heavy rains, and so everybody's stuck in traffic jams. Yeah, Siddharth.
Yes.
So thank you, Dadi. And so how did the journey begin, Dadi? How did you get into puppetry?
As you said, puppetry started as a hobby in Pune at that time. And it was just through school. The school that I was in, Bishop School, encouraged extracurricular activities, art, theatre, performance art. And every month they had something called a scratch concert where anybody could get onto stage and do something. And a cousin, a family member who had gone to the UK and had brought back 2 string puppets, Pelham Puppets. These was a company that made toy string puppets. That's where it started from. And through school and college, and eventually coming to Ahmedabad in 1971 after college at the NID, the Darpana Academy of Performing Arts had a puppet section. And in the evenings, I was involved there. And that is where it became more formal, Meher Contractor. And in fact, that is where I was introduced to many of the Indian traditional styles of puppetry that existed. Yeah. I can't hear you.
Sorry. So it was largely an informal training, right? Because you were studying at NID at that time.
Yeah. So, yes, NID was the thing after school, art, interest in art, but then I did my BA in economics, political science and history, and I don't remember anything of it from Pune. But NID, what was then called, now it's called visual communication, but there was film, and that's where it started. And if you go back, National Institute of Design, that's where all of us, including you, have studied. I was in the second batch, I think 1971. And this institute, I think even today, when I conduct workshops there, totally opens up people's minds as to color, form, things like that. And that has come into my puppetry work, including what Meher Contractor, if you go next, my teachers, yeah, next. No, no. Yeah, that's Michael Meschke in Stockholm, whose school, we are jumping now. This was right ages ago in Pune with Meher Contractor. We were on an Air India flight to go on to the World Puppet Festival in Charleville-Mézières, and Air India had sponsored some tickets, and so she had asked me to make one of the mascots of Air India as a Muppet, as a puppet, hand puppet, the India Maharaja. Next, yeah, next. You can hear me. That's Meher Contractor with one of her shadow puppets, Sorab Rustam. She passed away some years ago. And unfortunately, sadly enough, her son, who was a famous cinematographer, now Rose Contractor, just a week ago also left all of us in a tragic motorcycle accident. Meher Contractor, Darpana, Ahmedabad, and then I was a guest student. I had a UNIMA one-year scholarship in Swedish Institute at Michael Meschke School in Stockholm. Next. Michael Meschke. And a lot of the puppetry that I do today, which is not just for children, but theater, the use of puppets as a means, not as an end in itself, came from this school, you know. Yeah. Next. And then there was the children's theater, youth theater, the social government in Stockholm. It was called War Theater, free time youth theater, where I was a pedagogue in creative drama and puppetry. Gunter Wetzel, who's also passed away, he was a director, and that's where I worked with younger people, youth in Stockholm. Yeah. Siddharth, you have to keep asking me questions. This is a picture at Darpana. Some of you might recognize Mansoor Badri, Dinas Kalvachwala, Nalini Khan. Then we were students, yeah, at the Darpana Academy. Simple stuff. Yeah, next.
Can you tell a little bit about Darpana Academy, Dadi, to others who may not know about it?
Yeah. The Darpana Academy, famous academy, performing arts, was started by Mrinalini Sarabhai, famous dancer, and now is being taken care of and led by Malika Sarabhai, her daughter. And this academy, of course, had dance, theater, and it had a puppet section. Even today, they do some work with puppets. It's one of the main, I would say, performing arts places in Ahmedabad. It's a fantastic amphitheater, and yeah, the students predominantly dance, but theater, puppetry also was there. Meher Contractor was there in puppet theater. Yeah. Next. That's the institute, of course. This in Ahmedabad, I was in my last year at NID, and ISRO, Indian Space Research Organization, had the satellite TV instructional experiment, where we were making educational programs for the interior of India beamed through the satellite to community viewing TV sets. And I was invited to set up a puppet workshop. And it was one of the longest, most popular series, Mubai and Habai. The actors, three people here have passed on. V.K. Raina was the director next to the donkey. Pransukh Nayak was a famous Bhavai artist who gave the voice for the donkey. Kailash Pandya, a famous actor. And it focused on a lot of social incidents which happened in the Nadiad Peej area, and things that could not be said or were sensitive at that point of time, 1976, in the actors serial Human Theatre. We portrayed in the puppet theatre. The donkey was the proletariat. He was the voice of the people. The man with the black cap was the mukhi, or the village headman, who wants to change, but society doesn't let him change. And we touched upon all sorts of topics which today I'm sure you wouldn't even be able to speak about. But and then we selected a story from anywhere in the world which the donkey narrated, and he left. They left without a conclusion, and they'd meet the next week. I think there were 33 programs, and the donkey became such a character which became so close to the people in these little towns and villages that the studio was full of invitation cards for weddings, sacks of grain, presents, birthday presents, all sorts of things would come for this puppet. It was at ISRO. Yeah. Yeah. Next.
In some ways, Dadi, was this the start? Because you've often dealt with very somber topics, but with a lot of jest.
Sorry,
so,
I didn't get
I'm
you.
saying there's been a lot of kind of humor, but you often dealt with a lot of somber topics, like things that concern society, but you've done it in a way which is imbued with humor. And
Yes.
was this the kind of beginning of that journey as such?
Yeah. Well, you could touch upon subjects because once the puppet, the power of the puppet is objective theater as we call it, and it can say things that maybe the human actor maybe cannot say at a specific time or in a specific culture. After Ahmedabad, I was in Stockholm in Sweden at Meschke School. And in 1980, the night I was leaving, I think 1979, Panna Bharatram from the Sri Ram Center for Art and Culture in Delhi wanted me to come and set up a puppet repertory company, modern puppet. And this was the first modern puppet repertory in India. There were modern puppet groups in Calcutta, traditional puppet groups. So this was a full-time company which happened at this center. That's what brought me to Delhi in 1980. Yeah. Yeah, next. Next, yeah. Jagdish Bhatt, famous, the brother of Puran Bhatt, who passed away some years ago, Jagdish. And this was one of our first stories that we did, where working with large puppets and not Bunraku, but people being seen working with puppets, 2-3 people behind the puppet. This was one of the first stories, Motuki Mooch, and Rosalind Wilson, Target magazine at that point of time, had written a story, Tiger for Breakfast, which was adapted. And of all people, the person who was working with us in the show and who also wrote the script was Vinod Dua. Yeah. Pranjala Gill, Sushma Pandit, people from the Baroda Fine Arts. It was a group of 5 or 6 people, both young people, urban arts college, as well as the traditional puppeteers. Yes, next. Here are some shots we were rehearsing. Sushma Pandit, Pranjala Gill, Pratikji, yes. 1980, I can't remember, 84, 85, it was the first time that we did an experiment, which I brought back from my studies with Yoshida, the Bunraku style of using visual 3 people working a puppet. It was a piece called Utsav, and there was a dance of Usha or Dawn. And it was done. Yeah, you can see a picture here of that. And I think now every second puppeteer in India uses this technique of holding the puppet and working with it. But that was the first time. I remember Kamala Devi Chattopadhyay came to see the show, and she was asking, why are puppeteers behind and why is they not hidden and things like that. And this must have been 83, 84. It was also the first time that a modern puppet repertory company went to the World Congress, UNIMA World Congress and Festival in Dresden, that time East Germany, because up till then it was always traditional puppet theaters. And I remember Dhola Maru was the other piece, and we got a huge standing ovation for that. Thank you. Next. Dhola Maru was a Gatha from Rajasthan, and we worked with these large masks on head. That's young Puran Bhatt, Seema Kapoor, Karen Smith with a fan at the side. And the idea was that the traditional Rajasthani puppeteer is carving his puppet on stage, and while he's carving the live music, he sings the story, the love story. And that is enacted with large puppets. Yeah. That was the group at that point of time, all of us. Some have passed on, some are away, some have grown bald. Yes, yeah. Yeah, one of the big things that happened in 84 was the Panna Bharatram, as they also passed on. We then performed in Moscow at Obraztsov's theater, one of the most famous world puppet theaters, and the puppeteer, Sergei Obraztsov. And we were there performing after the Congress in Dresden. This is a photograph of the group. Yeah. Sergei Obraztsov, others. Yes, next. Yoshida, this is Sennosuke Yoshida. He's today now old and he's a living treasure. I hope he's there at the Bunraku Theatre. Meschke managed to get the Bunraku Theatre for the first time from Osaka. They traveled out of Japan because it was a very secret society, and they came to Stockholm and performed. And Meschke was then making his version of Antigone, and he wanted to do it in this style of Bunraku 3 people. And so Yoshida stayed back and he trained us in the working of how three people come together and work a puppet. Yeah. This, Siddharth, you have to keep asking me questions. This goes into the sequence of workshops. This is at NID. We had done a workshop. Every once a year, the design school calls me back to do a workshop with either the first foundation students or second years, and it's a collective thing. In fact, next in a week's time, I'll be going to another university in Ahmedabad where we'll do workshops with sort of visual performances, with puppets, with projection, shadow puppets. Yeah. Next.
Can you talk a little, Can you talk a little bit about the way you do your workshops? That because I remember in 1996 when you came to NID and I was in my foundation year, it was like an introduction to theater, but also storytelling. There were issues and the whole idea of making a puppet. So it was a lot of things mixed together. So if you can just talk a little bit about it.
Yeah, as I said, Meschke's aim was to use puppets as a means, not as an end in itself, not just puppet. So what are the other things that you can put together or mix with a performance? Dance, music, theater, lights, visual arts, projection, today digital animation. So this brings a group of young people together, because if you just say we're going to make a puppet and you do this and that, sometimes they can get bored. These are in schools. This was in Dehradun. We've done not Welham Girls, Welham Boys. This was Summer Valley, where these young people created this large puppet with their craft teacher made from bamboo. And yeah, so each time there is something. And when we do a workshop, for as we right now at NSD as well going on, it has to be something that the young people see a result, because they're maybe not going to become puppeteers, but they're wanting to use the medium as a way of storytelling. And so what is available to them, materials or the things that are there, things have changed in the 10, 15 years of what is available to students today, but the interest has to be held. And how they can use it in the future, that is more important than just making a figure. Yeah. Yeah. This was a large workshop we did, if you know, many of you, Dharavi, one of Asia's, as it's called, largest slum. But inside Dharavi in Bombay, I said, is the most amazing industries that go on, which people don't talk about. They only talk about poverty and, mess. And they had a whole thing with the women's group from Dharavi, where they were working on the problem of TB and sanitation and things like that. So they wanted us to come and do a collective workshop on making puppets, masks, large puppets. Yeah. So we stayed there, in fact, in the area. Myanmar, Save the Children. Twice our group has been to Myanmar, where the volunteers and teachers in the different districts of Myanmar work with Save the Children, and they come together, and we were there for about 2 weeks working with the use of puppets. And there's so many issues that we take for granted here, which, on health, on disability, physical disabilities, this, that, and the other. And we were working with different things here. Yeah, cans, water cans made into puppets. Today's modern group of puppeteers in Delhi, all the young puppeteers who are there originally came from SBT, Salam Balak Trust, the Street Kids program. In 2001, 2002, the first group was coming out, and we had a UNESCO project with EU on the HIV awareness and substance abuse, drug abuse. And the idea of Mehboob Dada, who was the leader of alternative education in Paris and UNESCO, wanted that I work with a marginalized group and 8 or 9 of these young people, and we made these street theater performances. And his idea was to train them in puppetry so they could stand on their feet. Today, they're all performing. They have Shamim, who's here, has his own puppet group. Others are performing at the Red Fort. Some are doing production work. Yeah. These were all open. This is how we performed in those days in all the bastis or the surrounding areas of Delhi. These were all the HIV awareness shows where puppetry could be used easily to tell about certain modes of transmission, things like that. Yeah. Yeah. Now, the style I work in today is a mix, as I spoke to you about, with puppets, actors. A lot of dance came in and movement came in through the collaboration with Asta Debu in 1988, 89. This piece here is a short video clips of When Land Becomes Water. Nita Premchand, who worked with handmade paper, illustrated 3 stories of the Great Flood. And NCPA on its 50th anniversary commissioned us to do the production, and we performed with the live orchestra. Yeah, we can see the video. It's a short video of the clips. These are, of course, short clips from the performance. The animation was done by Shahz Ahmad from NID as well, you see in the last production. And Nita Premchand, who worked with handmade paper, and you see the block printed stuff that's used here. This is a style that I use. There was text in this, there was text in English, and it linked the 3 stories of the flood together. Yeah. Performance that's been going on and on. 2003, I think this was commissioned by IGNC. The building, of course, no longer stands today. Dr. Kapila Vatsayan each year used to commission a puppet theatre group on the ideology of Mahatma Gandhi, and it was always a traditional puppet theatre group, Shadow, this, Rod. When she came to us, and with the first modern group, and she gave us a free hand to work on this production. It was called Images of Truth. It was using world music. It didn't have text, and it has traveled all over the place, from Greece to Iran to Singapore, and including to South Africa, where the whole story starts. Yeah, pictures from Images of Truth, Satya Ki Pratiroop. It ends with partition and then the trade. Yeah, next. Transposition was another performance that was done in 2002. The transpose hits Thomas Mann's story, and actually it comes from the Vikram Betal cycle, Vital Panchvinasati stories. And Thomas Mann, through Schiller, who sent it to him, he completed the story. And with Rashna Imhasli Gandhi, who was our base on the Jungian psychology, and Savandatta composed the music. The archetypes were these body sort of puppets, and the inner voice were the dancers. This was a production again for teenagers and adults. Travel, yes. Yeah, these are the puppets. There were more studio shoots from Aneman. Yeah. Heer Ke Waris became a popular story, which was based on the famous love story, Romeo and Juliet, but from Punjab, Heer Ranja. And some years ago, you know, even today, what is written in the 18th century, the lovers face today of whatever it's called, the caste, society, female infanticide, honor killing. And so the present day actors, the girl and boy who are tying this thread at the dargah, and the dervish says, but you are not, there's nothing like true love today. You're not Heer or Ranja. They face this. And who are they? And then the puppets come alive. This performance went to the World Puppet Festival. This is a poster in Charleville, 2017. That was the group that worked. So there were two actors, which you see standing at the back, who are the present day Heer and Ranja. And when the puppets then bring them into themselves at the back, and they hold the puppet and speak for the puppets. Yeah. So there was a way of talking about things that were going on, and through the puppet, it was also a critique on society and religion, and it was written in the 18th century. We adapted it. Yeah. We started, Sudesh Adana, who had worked with me on a production, he lives in Norway now. You'll see a picture later. And he came and we introduced him to Vishal Bharadwaj, who did the film Haider. And at that time, Vishal was asked to direct the opera The Flowering Tree at Théâtre du Châtelet in Paris. And he wanted to use puppets. So these were the puppets. That's a Ramanujan Kannadika story. You know, Chellavi is a film also in India. The Flowering Tree was adapted. John, I forget the name of the composer. John Adams, a very, very extremely modern composition of music, puppets, singers. Yeah, these are pictures from that. And Sudesh Adana had choreographed it. Sudesh today, 6 foot tall, lives in Norway, and he's a physical theater dance person trained, comes to India. Yeah. Yes. This is 2008. I would say the first time we made these huge giant puppets on backpacks full of color. This was for the Commonwealth Youth Game Parades in Pune. And after that, a lot of people are making tradition, and it's good because the Rajasthani puppeteers, everybody's making the tall puppets. And this is where I think maybe it started. It was in Maharashtra. So they were all the Maharashtrian Lokan saris for that time. Yeah. And these puppets have come in many ways in processions. Yeah. Giant puppets again. This was in Dubai twice at the GEMS Modern School. We were called to create productions, and this was of different communities living in the UAE. So this was again schoolwork, production, workshop, which becomes then into a production, large production. Yeah.
So your puppets are largely made of bamboo armature, right, Dadi?
Traditional puppets, yes, out of bamboo and papier-mâché. Today, shola pit in Bengal. Today, thermocol, you know, styrofoam, as it's also called, polystyrene, not the best material. But that this is a picture with Mars, another very popular production that's going on and on. R.S. Shelke wrote the script, Asha Chandra. It was Anokhe Bastra, based on the Emperor's New Clothes. This was in, I forget the year, when in fact Rajiv Gandhi was there, and you know, TV was nationalized, and the emperor had a flag on him, and an antenna came out. The two weavers, I will not name them, were famous. One is passed on, and it was a takeoff on that period, and it still goes on. Yeah. This was Dre, the one I spoke about. The Sudesh Adana brought a project, Dre as in Pashto, 3 characters from the Mahabharat. One is Gandhari, which was played by dancer Aditi Mangaldas. The puppet was Krishna, representing Krishna could stop the war, but there isn't. The just war, as it's called. And the Sudesh, the dancer, were all the lost souls of both the clans in the Mahabharat. It was done in Delhi. Then there was a residency in Tolosa in Spain, where it was again sort of redone, and then it the Opera House in Oslo. Yeah. So mixing always puppets, actors, dancers, Everlasting Flame, this huge 3 exhibitions that happened some years ago in Delhi on the Zoroastrian religion, culture, and Parzor, and we had commissioned a small piece on the Zoroastrian creation myth. So it was a small piece with music done with actors and puppets. This is from, it was called Marfat, The Awakening. Large puppets, shadow work, the same Heer Ranjha puppets changed costume, and then they came into the film Haider, the song Bismil, which was shot. Again, Sudesh had choreographed it, and he won the award for it, choreography, national award. And this was being shot in -20 in Kashmir at that point. You have the whole song on YouTube, Bismil. Recently, Royston Abel, about a year back, came and he was commissioned to do the new sound and light production at the Red Fort. He created it, but then afterwards he left for whatever reason. It is going on, and these puppets were made, they're still there. They'll be every evening at the Red Fort Sound and Light Show, the Mughals, the puppet of time, which leads people through the Red Fort. They are worn figures, of course, and in the monument, This was in our workshop while we were making it. There you see the full bamboo figure of time being made at the back. And it was a collective. Chaman Lal is a fantastic craftsman, artist, Kapil Dev, another young boy who worked with us. So none of the puppetry is always solo. There's always a group of people who work behind scenes. This was, you can see the 16-foot puppet, which is there. You can see in every evening performing still at the Red Fort, which is the narrator. Waqt, as it's called, time. And I believe recently Nat Geographic has put out an ad saying that out of the many sound and light shows in the world, this is worth seeing. You see them here. These were practicing with all the plastic still scaffolding there, but this was at the Red Fort. This is the last executive committee that I worked with in UNIMA, the World Puppet body. And it's one of the oldest international theater organizations in the world. I think 2008, I became a president till about 2 years when I finished my term. There were 3 terms. And these are the executive committee from various countries who are EC members. And then there are, I think, 91 centers all over the world who are members of this, of the World Puppet body. Thank you. So we come to the end. The last one is the Rumiana, our latest production on Rumi. I would have to tell you here, it is a collaboration. During the pandemic, Shahz Ahmad, also from NID, who introduced me to Sandeep Pillai, also from NID, who did the music. And we worked on 3 or 4 stories of Rumi and a connecting poem, which we took, of course, from an English version, Who Is at My Door. But then it was all rewritten. And it's again a production with puppets, with dance, with movement, with fabulously composed music. Music is the star, beautiful projections at the back. And we are very happy. We just performed it about some weeks ago at the University of Srinagar in Kashmir. Then it went to Nagpur, went to the Serendipity Festival in Goa, NCPA. So this is the latest production. And it's too big now, 12 people. And now again, we are going to something smaller we're working on. You can see the video. These are also clips from the main production. This was a collective work. The person who makes the costumes maybe for all our productions, Gunjan Arora. So I always prefer working with people who I have worked earlier with, and in each time there is something that brings us together to work. Shahz Ahmad had worked on the water, when land becomes water, and then he came into Rumi. In fact, he was the one who was the guiding spirit of the show. And literally 2 years through pandemic, we would meet. It's about the master and the student, and it's about the door, and the student wants to go in, and the master keeps saying, you're not ready to come in until you've experienced life, and then it goes into different stories. This was what it was all about, Rumiana. Yeah. Thank you. That was it. Now you can ask questions if you want to. I was always asked why or what did NID give me in my puppet work, because NID was not a puppet place. But whenever I'm asked that, I am happy to say, and I'm privileged that it gave me some basics, the foundation here of working with material, of sketching, of drawing, of using different material, which very often today, young people in the arts feel, or they want to go to Z. They do not want to go through a process, and that base stayed with me. And then, of course, in Stockholm, it opened up things, my Darpana Academy. But how in the present situation to use what you have? You know, it's not always that you can get every material when you're doing a workshop, you might not get, but then you have to adapt certain things. And what is it that you can use? What is around you to the best way, which is important. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Dadi. I mean, one of the things that comes through is the kind of incredible collaborations that you've had over a period of time with a whole kind of variety of people. Are there some collaborations you wish you would have done with people, and who were they, and
We can't see you, Siddharth. You're out of the camera.
Sorry. Yeah, that's no, not seen.
And Baba has just joined. It would be good to have a few words from him.
Adi?
Siddharth,
yeah.
Where are you? Yeah. You're hiding. I can only see your shoulder.
Yeah, but that's fine. Could you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you very clearly.
You can come into the frame a little bit.
Yes. That's Siddharth's father, Jatin Das, the famous artist, who's managed to come through the rain.
On that street.
Yes.
I came about 5 minutes late. And it's very wonderful that you have spent your life in making special things. But your puppetry is a synthesis of so many things. That's costume and historical facts, then the narrative, theater, etc., which is very unusual. I knew a pantomime artist in Cologne, from Czechoslovakia, was come back. And of course, we have the wide range of puppetry in the entire Eastern world, including India, the leather puppetry, and etc., etc. But you have taken puppetry into another dimension and multiple elements in it, which is extraordinary.
Yeah. We have very good traditional puppet theatre in India as well. Some of it is languishing, some of it is adapted to time, in Odisha, we go from Bengal, Maharashtra, Rajasthan, of course, is well known all over, but especially in the south, Kerala, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, there are very different styles, and there are many young people of the traditional families who are performing, who now want to create new narratives with their technique. The technique is very strong, but somewhere the medium and the message has, got stratified a bit. So they have their audiences for the epics, but they want to learn new work, working with new production methods, working with new materials. And UNIMA India has been doing workshops or mentorships in this case, where you know, and some of them have now progressed to do very interesting new work. They've started their own little cultural museums in their old place where tourists pass through that city. So they have food and they have a performance and they show things, they make things. So there is a change, but we still need lots of support for them. Voice.
Puppetry, the shadow puppetry, has a lot of potential, but very few artists in our country have taken up this element. Have you worked with shadow puppetry?
Yes, yes.
That's
I have. In fact, in the last few productions, everywhere there is some shadow work. In the Rumiana is there, in the water show. In most of my workshops with students in schools or in drama institutes, I work with shadow, because shadow gives a different dimension to puppetry. It's not just puppet. You can work with large, you can project, you can do, you can use the old overhead projector. And there are a lot of simple things that create very beautiful images, which should be explored more. Yeah.
There's a question from Devidas Agase. You could just unmute yourself. Anyone who wants to ask, please just unmute yourself and you could raise a hand and put it in the chat and you can go ahead.
Yes, sir. I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, and I'd like to see you also as well, asking a question.
Myself, Devidas Agase. I'm a young practitioner and a researcher working on the puppet. Mostly, I work in the visual art form, in the and also I have tried being in the kinetic form also. So my question is for you, sir, that a lot of things when you start your practicing through the puppet, a lot of things, like a lot of technology comes afterwards. But I have not seen in your works that you have used the technology. You mostly gone through the ecological form, like a bamboos and all. So any the specific reason that you apply for that?
What you saw, the two clips, are only of the last two recent productions, which uses technology. But otherwise, most of my other performances have not been technology. When you say technology, it's light, sound, projection. Yes, in some of the performances. But most of the productions have been a mix of visual theater, I would call it. Theater with puppets, with masks, with dance. So it's not. Interesting thing is that there are two schools of modern puppetry in India. Okay, one comes from Ahmedabad, Meher Contractor, which is more creative. It came through UNIMA. It came through people from all over the world. And the other first modern puppeteers were from Kolkata. Suresh Datta, Hirendranath, all these people. They 5 or 6 of them went to Obraztsov's theater in Moscow and studied. It was the the socialist period, communist time, and they came back with the most perfect rod puppet technique from Moscow, from Russia, which they carried on. But today their students have started making new work as well. So in the modern, I would say, in my person, it depends on the artist or the director, how he or she wants to tell the story. As I said, Meschke's influence came in of puppets as a means of telling a story, not as an ends in itself. So I'm mixing for adults, for children, depending on the story and the technique of puppetry. What else I have? And the dance or movement is very important in puppetry. And that also was influenced by Astad Debu long ago when we first did a production in 1989. So I try to mix. And let me tell you that technology is not easy. In fact, it pulls your hair when you're doing this production. If Shahaz Ahmad is online, he would know what happens every time before we put up a thing and what lumens and what. And sometimes you wish that you were not working with all of it. But it becomes a showpiece, a performance. So it just adds sometimes, but it's not always the same. The next show we are doing, we are adapting a Hans Christian Andersen story to to an Indian situation, the ugly duckling. And what's interesting is why are we doing that story if everybody knows what the ugly duckling is? But all of them are going to be made like soft toys, and each of the animals who point fingers at the ugly duckling are going to be parts of society, pride, beauty, and all of these animals are going to be made from regional textiles. So we're going to even talk about where this textile comes from. And in the end, of course, in India, we cannot say that the beautiful duckling became a white swan, because fair and lovely it would be. So I'm finding a way of how we are going to transform that ugly duckling into what in the end. That's what we are working on. But that's now going to be done with 3 or 4 people on a tabletop. So you try something large and then you come back to something basic. That's what I think. It's up to you what you can use by yourself or what means you have. Technology is not necessary each time. The puppets I use are technically very simple. I prefer that the puppeteer puts in the emotion in the puppet. So if the puppets, they're not opening their mouths and eyes and all that. They're very, very simple, but they're sculptured. Color, form, all that is there. Yeah.
Idoya, you have a question?
Yes.
Please go ahead.
Yes. Well, I want to, first of all, to thank the organizers for having organized such.
Idoya, let's see your face. Let's see you.
I cannot. They are. I try, but it's up to you to.
That I think she's not able to switch on the video.
Yeah,
Maybe
none of us can switch on because you have stopped everyone's video.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Can you please
open? We would like to see each other's faces.
I can.
Yeah.
Now, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now I thank you for organizing this interesting talk. And I want to congratulate all of you for having such a wonderful people, such a valued person among you as is Dadi, because you have a real treasure among you. He's a wonderful person. He's very modest. He's I don't know how to how to say in English, but he has been speaking about organizing workshops about how to what do you need. I have been with him in some places where you cannot find everything, and he has managed to organize wonderful workshops without nothing. So I congratulate you for having such a wonderful person. He's the most honest, most modest, and the great artist I have ever met in my life. Thank you, Dadi. And thank you and congratulate you in India for having such a great person. Thank you.
As I said, Idoya was the secretary of the World Puppet Organization. The workshop she just mentioned was the last workshop we were doing together, just as pandemic struck. It was in West Africa, in Abidjan. And literally there was not much material, and we had started and we had to rush back as soon as it finished because the COVID thing has just got in. But Idoya also ran the topic, the Puppet Center in Tolosa, Spain, near San Sebastian. And each year they had a focus country. And I remember it was 2004 or 5. There was a focus on India, which we had curated, me and Neeraj Sahai. And Sangeet Natak Akademi had lent all the puppets, which we took there. And then there were 3 or 4 puppet traditional groups that performed. Again, she managed to get, during the IGNC at time, an exhibition of puppets, masks, and scrolls to Madrid and to Tolosa. So, yeah. Thank you, Idoya.
Yeah. May I ask a question? Yeah. May I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Dadi, you spoke about images of truths. Have you made a video of that? Like
Yes.
how how do we get to see that?
There is a video. It's not the best video, but in the early days, we shot. In fact, I have lost all the work that I did at Sri Ram Center, which is about 13 performances. We never thought of making videos and all the photographs, but yes, there is a video, not the best video, and yeah, one can share it. It is, but a stage performance, when you put into a document or a video, doesn't necessarily so much. It's just a document, you know. So that is one problem there. But yes, the most interesting thing about Images of Truth was it doesn't have text. It has the sayings of Mahatma Gandhi. The puppet sort of writes, and the puppeteer is taken to the audience.
Wow.
And when we were, the festival in Iran has, you know, very good puppet festival. And once they were talking, and I was trying to project Heer Ke Waris because it's close to Laila Majnu, all these stories. They said, no, we want this story. But I said, this story on Mahatma Gandhi has some background, you know, there is it's flashback, flash forward. So how will it work there? They said, no, we want it. It's a visual performance. It has music. It doesn't have text. And we did it there, and we were quite amazed that the reception that we got. And then one guy came up and he said, no, we have 2 classes in the junior school on Mahatma Gandhi. And he gave me a whole book in Farsi, in Persian, on Mahatma Gandhi's sayings. So, you know, sometimes we don't know about these things. And they said, no, this is what it is. So it depends, I suppose. These were courageous times when we did this performance, and we had to, and Kapilaji was commissioned it, and I said, I'm having clowns in it. So she said, oh my God, but you cannot make fun of him. So she said, no, I'm not making fun, but we are portraying color and apartheid. There was a brown clown and there was a white clown, and they're both fighting on the table to grab the same table, like a circus performance. And I remember she called in Ramu Gandhi to see the rehearsal, to check what was going on. And Ramu Gandhi saw it and he says, fantastic, please go ahead, because this is something that should go into all the schools. And then Spikmeki has taken it to schools. They said, it's a different way of talking about Mahatma Gandhi. Otherwise, it's always black and white. This is right, that is wrong, you know, things like that. So it opens up a different visual. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that is more the reason why we should be able to show it at different places, because you can't have show the stage performance everywhere.
Yeah, the film. We should be able to make better videos of the shows. They should be specially performed.
Absolutely.
For film. That has to be done and edited, not just you know, documented. Another thing that Ishara has done, I don't know but next year will be the 20th Ishara International Puppet Festival. It's an annual festival. We started in 2001. And we said, nobody's going to come. It started at Habitat Center. We had more Indian shows and maybe 2 foreign shows. And Sanjoy Roy, the trustees, and they said, no, but you have to charge a ticket. I said, nobody will come. In Delhi, it's all passes and free thing. He says, never mind, 2 rupees, 5 rupees, kuch bhi lagana chahiye. And today, 5 rupees has become 500 rupees from 2001. We get a full house. And I remember Puran Bhatt telling me, koi nahi aayenge idhar aise party ke. But that thing is there, that, you know, whenever you go, I have arguments with people where they say, no, the show should be free. I said, yes, I would do a show free for a government school, but I cannot do it free for one of the fancy private schools. So, you know, as much as you see the performance, there are people behind it. There are puppeteers, young people who are earning from it as well. So there has to be that thing has to come in. It is there maybe in Bombay, in Maharashtra, in Calcutta, but in Delhi, it was always, you know, that there was a system of free, but it's changed today, I think. Yeah.
And the performance you had at Dharavi, you said it was about sanitation and so on. So did it have any effect after
Yes,
the performance?
sure. Because the idea there was, I forget the NGO that was working who called us, the idea was to give those women a medium which they could then take forward. So the idea was to teach them about some simple puppetry, but then the theme was on, it was TB. TB was one of the important things that they had a problem with. And then there were open air shows. We created the first 2-3 shows and then they carried on with it. Now, after that, how long? I can tell you only about the HIV and the substance abuse shows, which we had in Delhi, because there was a lot of research and, writing, and UNESCO wanted all the details and numbers of people. So the shows are a catalyst. The shows, everybody knows things, but these performances of 15-20 minutes are a catalyst. And after that is a counselor or written material or printed material that is distributed. When we did, today times have changed. To 2002, I can tell you that in some of the fancy schools in Delhi, we were not allowed to do the HIV show. Because they said, no, they were teaching children to, this was about transmission, safe sex, gender issues. Today it's changed. The government schools had no problem if you could get into them. It was very interesting. And the question and answer sessions in the government schools was far more intelligent, far more, knowledgeable than the other schools also, yes, but they were very, introvert. They were scared or shy to talk about things. But it's changed. But that is where I think puppetry in the applied medium can do a lot of work in education. We should use it much more. Both traditional puppeteers have done some of the most fantastic, the state governments haven't used it properly. Many of the traditional puppeteers on their video, on their mobile phones made COVID, little videos about how to do that. Fantastic things. And they made it themselves in their own homes and edited them as well. And these could have been much better used by state governments.
Dadi, AC has a question. AC, would you like to ask?
Thank you. Firstly, can you hear me?
Yes.
Just to thank you, Dadi. I think it's a wonderful presentation. I think what is really remarkable is the number of people whose talent you have exposed and the number of people you have built up as artists in their own right. I think that's something that that needs to be recognized when we talk about your achievements, because that's a huge thing that you've done. I often wonder whether you have, through these years, had a dream project that you would like to do and perhaps have not been able to realize because it's not been easy for you to put these things together. And if there is a dream project, what would that be?
I don't know. I come to a stage sometimes that you feel enough is enough. You don't want to carry on. But I think there were 2 or 3 high points in the work I have done. One was Images of Truth, Mahatma Gandhi. And it was very interesting. That performance came about after we were traveling in Brazil and performed. We came back and made that show. I don't know what was the connection. And then the Heer Ke Waris, because it spoke about certain things around Delhi which were happening, which have been happening in the 18th century as well. Now, how do I put it across in an interesting way? And then came the Rumi show, which speaks about that everybody comes through this one, there is one direction. If all of us, Shamsu Zoha, if all of us can become the one sun, and there are beautiful lines in it. So as I said now, the next one is on craft, on textile. I'm using different textiles, and maybe it will be critical that this animals coming from this state or whatever, but eventually in the performance, these textiles outside will be displayed as well. And we will talk about them, the 7 or 8 places where we can use things from that. Why, there will be a discussion on that, but it will be, the puppets will be made from those fabrics. I hope it works. I do not know.
Who are you doing this for? Do you have a sponsor?
No, we don't have.
Or get in touch because there is something happening. Maybe we can get some sponsorship for that.
Sure. None of the shows that we have done, except When Land Becomes Water, which was NCPA, and the Images of Truth were commissioned and sponsored. But otherwise, it's always been putting your effort. Artists have come together. In Rumi, almost 8 months, 9 months, all these young people rehearsed pro bono. And then we said, okay, when the shows happen, whatever comes, we will share. And I think that with great difficulty, that has we've come together in a group. And that's where I say that I like to always work with the same people. Some people say, no, you must always have an audition, get new people, get this people, get that people. But I believe in there is a connection with the people I work with. And I hope there is some goodwill there. I don't know, but it has happened. Yeah. But yes, the textile thing I'll get to. I mean, Siddharth, you must introduce Ashok Chatterjee for people. Everybody knows him here, but some may not. Yeah.
Ashok Chatterjee taught for generations at NID, from Dadi to me and further down. And he was the director of NID for many years. He was the president of Craft Council of India. So he's worked with water. He's worked on the Javaja project with IM. He led it. And I think, if I'm right, AC, your book is coming out now on Javaja. And so, yeah, I think just the generations, it's like a legacy bearer of NID. So, yeah.
One other question that I have for Dadi. Dadi, these are such dreadful times we're living through in our country. And your work really seems to suggest the need to remind our people of certain, not just of our past, but certain values which are under attack. Which of your works do you think is most relevant to the times we live in? The Gandhi one?
The Gandhi one, and right now the Rumi performance as well. Because the lines in the Rumi performance of what they say are very, very special, very important at this moment. In fact, as I said, when we spoke about the ISRO project, there were certain things there which I could say or we could speak about, which today I will not be able to do. And even while making the Rumi performance, there was a little bit of, shall we do this? Shall we say this? Who's going to sponsor the Rumi show at these times? Some important people in the foundation of Rumi said, why are you doing this show? Who are you doing it for? And we said, no, we want to do it. It is, and the stories in it are universal. I didn't know, but I was told that because of Coleman Barks, but he's also been told as white Orientalist, but he has made in the English translation Rumi as the second most read poet in the world. I didn't know that. And the stories that we have put in are universal. They come from India, they come from Central Asia, they come from wherever. And the lines in it and the music, it started in English, the two actors. And when we went to Srinagar about a month back, I said, look, we need to rewrite the script. And it went into Hindustani, a mix of Hindi, Urdu, and it's the most fantastic text that has happened. And right now, Spik McKee had in Nagpur's convention, we had 15,000, almost 1,500 something students there from all over India. And we were wondering what language to do it in, because there were people from the south, north. And we again said, okay, because it's understood, let's do it in English. And we found it lacking. I wish I can do more performances of Rumi, and the actors and the puppeteers want to do it, but it needs some, as the other gentleman said, some technology and some technique, things, light, sound. Without that, it doesn't work. The music is really the text also. Sandeep Pillai is also from NID, product design. I don't know what he did, with one of the companies in Bangalore. And then he's a music composer now. He composes music, and he was introduced to me through Shahs. And I'm sitting here, he's sitting there, and he saw clips of how we rehearse, and he put it together, including When Land Becomes Water. Ayrat Ishmarutov is a Tatar composer, but he lives in Canada, and CPA has worked with him. Here in Delhi, night is morning in Canada, and we composed the music, and eventually it was done with the symphony orchestra. The show went to Moscow as well. But I think Rumi and Gandhi, Rumi has words in it. So there is, for a general audience, it works. Images of Truth is beautiful. It's a little abstract. It has no words. It has music. People ask us, "Iska matlab kya hua? What is it?" And when you ask them, "What did it mean to you?" It's very clear. They got the meaning. So, yeah.
Is there anyone else who'd like to ask a question? There was Raja Anand, I think, who had once raised your hand.
Yeah, hi Dadi.
Hi.
I have to leave. I have class, but मुझे तो बहुत अच्छा लगा है इस तरीके का मीटिंग. तो मेरे लिए तो पहला एक्सपीरियंस है, मतलब स्पेशली तो पपेट के बारे में और इतना कुछ समझने का मौका मिला आपके थ्रू और जेडीसी के थ्रू. तो थैंक यू सो मच दादी फॉर टुडे. या थैंक यू.
Raja is a very dancer, Chow artist, and he was introduced to us through Shudesha Dana from Norway, because they work together in many projects, and that's how Raja. Yeah.
Thank you, Dadi. Thank you so much. Bye.
Dadi.
Yeah.
I also have a personal story with you. As you know, I worked. I don't know.
You know what's coming?
What's coming? What's coming is that how come you've remained the same person all these years?
I don't know if I'm the same person.
Well, no, same in the sense at the core. I mean, of course, I hope we have all evolved, but you know, the purity with which you've worked, you've experimented so much. Puppetry is still a very niche thing, and yet you have engaged with the form, with the subjects, engaging in socially conscious things, not just art for art's sake, nothing wrong with that, but the fact that you've really used it as a means to an end. You know, I mean, coming from a space of films, and Professor Ashok Chatterjee also said these are really difficult times, and as artists we are finding it more and more stifling, and how do we express? And you have created this incredible balance, and you know, and also to be able to experiment with form in such a niche thing. So what is it that, I mean, I know it's a very broad question, but how has the niche thing helped you in a way to be able to navigate in your own pond, or has it limited you? I don't know. I mean, the question is a little vague, I guess, but just to understand your inner journey through all of this.
I think I have been privileged, as I said, one thing to have come through NID. I didn't finish at NID in my last year. I went joined ISRO, and then Vikas Satwalekar gave me a leave of absence to come back. I didn't. Puppetry then became the profession. I went to Sweden, blah, blah, blah. But I've always had the most wonderful people I have worked with or interacted with. In my World Puppet UNIMA people, the Secretary Idoya, who's here today, the people who I have interacted with, and you know, people have, or my teachers have shared things. Today, a lot of people keep everything closed. You know, I am this, I am that. And I feel that the things that I'm doing are not necessarily so special. Okay, as he said, it's spectacular because of technology today. But that sharing has to be there with the people I work with, younger people or whatever. There are many things that I learned from the workshops that many performances have come through the workshops. We have done workshops, and an idea has germinated in the workshop, which became a performance. So I think it is the contact with people of all types everywhere that has traditional, modern, different countries, which, you know, I think has made special for me. That is what I feel. I do not know, but it's always been there yeah, I don't know how to put it in words.
Well, as Idoya Otegu said that you are very modest, but what kind of people come into puppetry? Because it's being so specific, and everyone today is wanting to mainstream themselves. So what kind of people do you get?
I think Padmini Ramanujan, she's there as well from Bangalore. But I think I can speak about what happened in Ahmedabad and then in Delhi, due to Ishara and due to the Puppet Festival. Again, it became niche. Habitat Center, the audience that comes there, but it has opened up different styles of puppetry. Earlier, everything that came from abroad was nice. Okay, but today the audience has become very that, okay, this was there, this was not there, this could have been better. But that has created some ripple where applied puppetry teachers, educationists want to use puppetry, but don't have sometimes the means to do it, or the workshop. We don't have a puppet training, course, but there is UNIMA India, Ranjana Pandey, others here today, Avnarupa Roy, who are starting to do training programs, mentorships in puppetry. Traditional puppeteer, 2-week stays with young people and they create something. Both have to be able to share with each other. I do not believe that the traditional puppeteer just gives to the modern, younger animation people. But what does he also or she take back? This is important. I believe that today a lot of appropriation is also happening. Okay, I don't come from a traditional puppet family, but there are traditional puppet families, and there is all over the world, there is, if it's lost, there is the renaissance of that tradition. But in some places, in many of our folk arts and things like that, I just saw an exhibition maybe of Madhubani just now this morning, and I saw that it was very nice. But when I read it, I think it was a city person doing that art form, and it was Madhubani. Now, my question was, I cannot judge saying right or wrong, but what happens there? That is when that artist is also living, and it's a question. And this comes into puppetry as well, I think. How, or if you're collaborating, like Puran and all of us, we worked together for years, and now Puran has taken modern puppetry and done fantastic things as well. So I think it's very personal how you work with people, how you treat them, and how you can work with people. That is what is important. And many times you fail there as well. As I said, that you work with the same people, and some of my artists, but inko nahi aata hai, ye nahi kar pa sakte ye. So I said, no, but let them try. And then the next show, again, they come in and they say, I told you, you're wasting time, So that has happened. But then that is what it is, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think we've run out of time.
The question that you asked, I think, about puppetry and growing, I think, is Padmini still there online?
Yes.
Yeah, Padmini, why don't you? Because
No. I have a question, Dadi.
Yeah.
No, I just wanted to know, the moment you changed, you brought in some modern kind of presentation in puppetry. There was a traditional kind which was prevailing, and Dadi comes in and brings something very huge, especially with 2 hands coming, something like that. How did, I want to know, how did the audience receive, or how was your experience, bringing in and meeting the change? Suddenly you cannot expect the audience to accept what you're doing or something like that.
When you try something new, when in 1980, let's say, Panna Bharatram and Sri Ram Center, and we started this little puppet repertory company, Sutradhar. Every weekend we were performing Saturday evening, Sunday morning. There were the 5 people, there were 10 people in the basement theater, children. And there the experiment started of using different techniques of puppetry. Even there, if I keep using the same technique, people are not going to come and see. They want to see something that gives them this willing suspension of disbelief. We keep saying, but why does let's say dance? Why does a Bharatanatyam dancer doing the same repertory, 10 dancers, but you like one or like the other? Why? Because that artist has put in something or is saying something to you. I think that is where it is. And yes, in the beginning, now it's become like, oh, if it's Ishara, everything will be big puppets. But no, it started with playing with scale. So I don't use the puppet stage. I use a larger and we use from 1 foot, 2 foot to something large to tell the story. But also it's not possible each time to do it. So now we've done this big thing. Now we're coming back to something smaller, you know. So we did a very interesting and also serious things. Chatura Rao had written a book, Gone Grandmother, for Tulika Books. It's about death. It's about a young girl who comes home and the mother is packing up things and she says, where are you? Why are you packing up my grandmom's things? And the parent mother doesn't tell the girl that the grandmother has passed on. And the story is there. And then there's a dialogue between the mother and the daughter and how do we put this across with puppets? The puppeteers were the mother and daughter. And today's mother is now very ill, and the daughter knows that the mother is not going to live and treating, and the old mother, the real mother, is behaving like a child. And she keeps scolding the girl, the daughter, stop it, eating chocolates, you're not supposed to do it. So, and then the mother goes into the story saying that, you know, when you were young, who was the one who was taking care of you? And then we went into this. So I like to use that way of telling stories, slightly open-ended at times, even though there is a message. Well, everyone, they ask us, what is the moral? Kya hai? Story ke baad kya moral hai? The Rumi one is quite obvious. In the end, the song that happens in the thing is the lines of the song is the moral of the whole story. It's about people that we all are different, but we come from the same rays of the sun. You know, this is about Shams and Rumi. So each time in the water show, I think the last lines are, how long will we create this disharmony amongst us until the floods rise again? Because in each time, humanity created disharmony and God sent the flood and everybody was destroyed. There's one lot which was saved in the boat and then they regenerate. So there is something in each story which is intrinsic that has to be used somehow. It's not obvious. That is what I like to play with. And I like to bring the visual medium, the material inside, you know. If you have time, for ages ago, we had a puppet festival in Delhi. I think it was it Gandhi show, or was it another called Waking Dreams? And it was live going on, the Doordarshan. There was a Dutch puppeteer, Felicia Van Det, and there was Magda Modesto, puppeteer from Brazil, and we were discussing. And what had happened was at that time, there was this, every show had to be India. You know, the festivals of India, snake charmers, Gota, all this sort of thing. And this was not like that, this show of mine. And music was also varied. So the Dutch puppeteer asked me, this was in 86, 87, what is Indian in your shows? So I said, it's as much Indian as I'm living in a city or whatever. I'm not living in, okay. And then the Brazilian woman was very interesting. She says, but the way he's used color or the way he used cloth or the way he's used those things can never be from any other country. My question to the Dutch puppeteer, whose work was exceptional, it's so surreal, that I said, this work can never come from anywhere except Holland or Dutch. It's surreal. I don't expect you to run around in clogs or folkloric costumes. I'm seeing it as a modern performance from your country. You know, so that happened when Sutradhar Puppet Theatre performed in the Congress in Dresden with Dhola Maru Gatha, but the way we performed, the way it was very different. And they said, we don't know that this exists in India. This was 84, because every time, as I said, we got very, very good traditional forms, right? But we know the traditional form has to also move ahead. What can you do with it? How can you, it's very difficult to live on it. That is where, yeah.
Thank you, Dadi.
Yeah. Padmini is right now a member in UNIMA India and handling our journal, newsletter, and she has a puppet group. She works with her educational puppets, very interesting work. Bangalore, right? Hyderabad, sorry. Yeah.
Are there any other questions?
Thank you, Dadi.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dadi, for this lovely conversation. And I mean, many of us have known you for decades, and I think a lot of us didn't know the whole repertoire of things that you've done. And thank you for sharing this. And it's available on YouTube for anyone who'd like to share with others. Please do go to the GDCA channel and share this. It'll be posted online in a couple of minutes after the session ends. And thank you once again, Dadi, for doing this and getting over your phobia of this. So and we have this every second Saturday of every month. We have a lovely lecture with an amazing person like Dadi and so on. The next speaker is Usha Balakrishnan, who's a very renowned jewelry curator. Her talk is going to be on Inheritance of Brilliance, India's Romance with Gems and Adornment. So quite different from Dadi's. And thank you once again, and do join again. Thank you. And bye-bye.
You have some fabulous sessions on YouTube.
Yeah.
If there's some amazing, because when I was going through the talks, if people are interested, they should see those sessions. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
the earlier ones, like, Mr. B.V. Doshi, in fact, Professor Ashok Chatterjee, we did with Mr. Raghu Rai, Mr. Radhakrishnan.
Laila Tayyabji, Balan Nambiar,
There are many.
Ramchandran. Yeah. Very exciting cross-section of people.
Yes, and we still struggle with getting more people because, it's a Saturday evening, it's on art. And so we really request everyone to spread the word. And, we would want a community of people who are truly interested in the arts and the journeys of artists. So this, in a way, is a great opportunity. So please do share this information. Thank you, Dadi.
Thank you.